Now we're moving into cell division, which covers section 10-2 in your book. So we already talked about why cells need to divide so an organism can grow. But how do cells actually divide, and what is the process behind it? And that's what this section will talk about. So cell division. Cell division is when a cell replicates its genetic material and then divides into two identical cells. So the main part of this is that it has to replicate the genetic material and then divide into two identical cells. The process of cell division is done in two different steps. The first of these is called mitosis, and the second one is called cytokinesis. And these two parts of cell division are part of the normal life cycle of a cell, and that's what we're going to look at next. So here is a graphic of looking at the entire cell cycle. Again, when we look at cell division, we're going to look at the mitosis and the cytokinesis, but let's actually go and focus on the rest of the cell cycle first. So the cell cycle. Most of the cell's life is spent in interphase. An interphase is a period of growth and development of the cell between the creation of a cell and the upcoming division of the cell. And 80% of life is spent in interphase, which contain the G1, S, and G2 phases, which we'll talk about. So the cell cycle, a big piece of that is what we call interphase. So if we go back to our diagram here, G1, S, and G2 are all part of that, what we would call the interphase portion of the cell cycle. So let's talk a little bit more about the specific stages. So G1 phase is normal cell growth. So again, cells are obviously going to grow a little bit, and this is the typical cell growth. At the S phase is a stage where DNA is being replicated or doubled. Remember back to how we discussed what cell division is. Cell division is where the DNA is replicated, and in this S phase, that's where it's actually taking place. In the G2 phase, the cell prepares for mitosis, which is the shortest stage, but it's basically getting ready for that division. And the M phase is what we would call the stages of mitosis. So we look at going then into cell division with mitosis and cytokinesis. Mitosis is the division of chromosomes in preparation for two new daughter cells, breakdown of the nucleus, and the chromosomes will separate. Those are part of the components for mitosis. In cytokinesis, you have the division of the cytoplasm and other organelles, and it actually completes the process of cell division. Again, just to reiterate, mitosis is the first stage of the cell division, and the nucleus and the chromosomes are going to divide. Cytokinesis is the second stage. So again, if we actually look at cytokinesis, one of the things that I have looked at is think of cyto and the cytoplasm and kinesis movement. So in the second stage, you actually have the cytoplasm and as well as the organelles that are kind of moving into two different cells. So that might be one way to help with the second stage, cytokinesis. If you can think cytoplasm, this is the stage where that is going to split. All right, this last little section that we are going to cover today deal with chromosomes. So again, chromosomes are going to contain the DNA, and remember in cell division and in the cell cycle, we need this replication of this DNA. So let's focus a little bit on what this DNA actually is. So chromosomes are located in the nucleus of the cell. We remember that from our cell chapter, and they're made up of the DNA. A human has a total of 46 chromosomes, and each chromosome is made up of 2 identical sister chromatids. So each chromosome is made up of 2 identical chromatids. And when the cell divides, the sister chromatids are going to separate from one another. So this gives you a little idea of what this actually looks like. So that we have a chromatid over here. If you look on this diagram right here, we have our chromatid, and it is made within the chromatid. We have something called the centromere, and this is located near the middle of the chromatid, kind of right in here, and is where the sister chromatids are attached to each other. So remember, a chromosome is made of 2 sister chromatids. So we have one chromatid here and another chromatid here. And in the middle is the centromere, and that's where those sister chromatids are attached to each other. So this gives you kind of a little idea before we start into our cell division of how is this DNA, what does this DNA look like? So when we go into mitosis, you'll kind of see how these split. And this really ends this video lesson. We are going to start in the next video going over mitosis itself. I will make sure that that is up and ready for you. But again, if we go back and review, the cell goes through a normal life cycle. And part of that life cycle is cell division, and there's 2 parts. There is mitosis and cytokinesis. These are what we'll get into in the next chapter, but I really suggest that you make sure that you have this somewhere in your notes because you will be responsible for all the different portions of the cell cycle. Here ends the field notes.